Welcome to the Gump Report. This is Howard Cosell, a guy that you have no idea who he is. A guy that used to do sports in the 1970s and always had a great banter between him and Muhammad Ali, who used to fly and punch the living crap out of you. Damn, that hurt. Welcome to the Gump Report. You never know what you're going to get. And just in case you don't know who Howard Cosell is, back in the 1970s when they used to have something called the wide world of sports, he was, you could say, the first not only commentating sports announcer, but the first meme. Yes. Back in the 1970s, Howard Cosell had a little bit of a banter between him and Muhammad Ali, who was known as the greatest middleweight in history to heavyweight. Early in his career, he was a middleweight going to a heavyweight. Then he became a heavyweight. That's the deal. And him and Muhammad Ali just joked around with each other. Well, mainly Muhammad Ali just loved messing with him. They've had friendship for years. But I thought I'd give you a little bit of that. To me, honestly, back then, I was not a big sports fan other than wrestling. Not until I became a teenager did I love the Mets, even though they never won. At least until 1986. And then the Dallas Cowboys with the cheerleaders, and who wouldn't love the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders? Who didn't love them? They were the best cheerleaders. With them. Okay, we got two reports here. One, I think most of you are going to be very happy to hear because you see the name in there. And then you see another name that you're going to say, why the hell are you putting them in here? Well, give me a chance. Give me a chance, guys. I'll explain why I'm putting John Cena in here along with Mauro and why they kind of go together where it could mean something for both, even though it'll never happen. And I'm saying this again, this will generally never happen. But I'm going to do John Cena and the comments from Jim Ross. Now, if you look at nodq.com, and I believe that's there in the connection below, because I'm trying to remember, is it NoDQ or is it ProWrestling.com? I think it's NoDQ. I think the Mauro is going to be on Impact. So, Jim Ross said in an interview that he never understood why they never turned John Cena heel. Why they never pulled the trigger when the guy literally was getting booed as a face. He's the first person in history of the wrestling business in a major promotion that's known nationally and internationally that was booed as a babyface and being presented as a babyface. Now, what do I think about this? Now, I have spoken about John Cena in the past, a long time ago, I think. I can't remember when. And what I felt about him. This is what I think in general what happened with John Cena, and what could this mean to wrestling now? Okay? That's what I think about wrestling now. Because eventually I'm going to talk about CM Punk. And the talk about him not really still thinking about going back in the ring and not giving any hopes to the fans. What could happen if he did come back. I will do a Gump Report eventually. That's what I'm thinking about. But this is what I think about John Cena. In his own interviews, when he was with Chris Van Vliet, and when he did his own interviews with other people, like Good Morning America and stuff like that, I believe, he always said that he noticed that the fans that were coming to the shows more than anything else was children. And he felt that the best option was not to turn heel, to stay face, and to be a strong role model. That is the general reason why he never changed. He made a request not to change. Vince allowed it, and he stuck with it all the way up until he's now been semi-retired or generally retired from active wrestling. Period. Now, how do I feel about that? That was bullshit. Let's make this clear, guys. You know what John Cena wanted to be? Now, mind you, a lot of wrestlers really inspired to be this. But John Cena wanted to be the modern-day Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Now, if you've never seen Ricky the Dragon, I would suggest check on YouTube and look him up. I'm sure more than a few people who watch my Gump Reports know who Ricky the Dragon is. He had great chemistry with Ric Flair. But Ricky the Dragon was a face for the majority of his run, no matter what promotion he was in. I believe he was in AWA, he was in National Wrestling Alliance, he was in WCW, then he was in WWE. He also went to he didn't go to ECW, I think, much, if at all. If I remember, he never was there. But he did appear on Impact Wrestling a couple of times, which was TNA. He wanted to be the modern day Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Now, there's a lot of wrestlers out there that always want to be a face and inspired to be Ricky the Dragon. But John Cena, with the ability to politic in the back like a Hulk Hogan, or even more than that, he demanded to stay like as he was. And it didn't make a difference what the fans thought. And this is what, and understand this, guys, fundamentally, because of his reluctantness and his downright stubbornness not to change, and then Vince being as stupid as he was, to allow this guy to maintain that character, totally damaged how wrestling is seen today. Look, you can say the golden age of wrestling in the 70s and 80s was garbage, because they never did any of the flips and kicks, which they did. If you looked at New Japan, they did. In certain aspects in Europe, they did. In very few promotions that were ever shown, they did have some high flying. That is what we know today. That's the truth. But when it came down to it, the fundamentals of wrestling, Wrestling 101, they taught you back then, and they still to this day teach you to a certain extent. You could be one of two things generally. You can be a bad guy, a heel. You can be a good guy, a face. You face one another in the ring or outside the ring, counting if the company or promotion that you're a part of has the funds to record you or live stream you now, or go onto a national or international venue, counting if you can be recorded. You usually get a fan base. Either you get a lot of people that like you as a face, a lot of people that hate you as a heel, and you go from there. You hope it'll sell merchandise, you hope it'll sell seats in the arenas that you go to, and you hope it does pay-per-views if your company does this. That has been fundamental since the 1980s, when cable television was used across the country. Now it's streaming, or in the dinosaurs, the cable. That's what we got still. Because there are some people who still get pay-per-views on cable in different parts of the country or in different parts of the world, counting on what type of technology they use. Like if they use satellite, if they use cable like they've done still to this day, or if they use fiber optic, or in very rare cases, DSL. But because of what John Cena did, he completely destroyed that. Many people will say that's great. No, it's not. A lot of times, you need a fundamental understanding what you are. There's very few people who are in between good guy and bad guy. Stone Cold Steve Austin could do it perfectly. The Rock could do it perfectly. John Cena never did it perfectly because, let's be honest, John Cena, when he first started out, he started out as a generic babyface. Came to every arena from every town and every city in different colored trunks and boots. He did. Then he became a bad guy, did the Doctor of Thugonomics, which I do believe was one of the best things he did when he first to intermediate in that run. When he was about halfway into that run was when he was really good as a heel. Flat out, that was the best time he was a heel. When he transitioned to a face, he was still that heel. He still had that attitude of somebody in the streets, still acting like a freaking thug, well, wishing he was a damn thug because he came from Newbury, Massachusetts. How much of a damn thug can you be out there? You want to be a thug, suckers, as you would say it. Live in New York. Live in Boston. Live in the dirty spots. Like a Booker T who had to become and almost got himself fucked up because he was living that thug life in real life. John Cena was not. So he had a little bit of an understanding of it. He was great as a rapper freestyle, but he never was a damn thug. He don't know that life. He was no Big E. Yeah, Notorious, not Big E. Notorious B.I.G., I'm sorry. And the guy came from not far from me. He used to be in Mount Vernon, so that's thuggish out there. But you get my point. This is what happened. The entire premise of how things have been working has been destroyed by WWE, by Vince. It's not about Kevin Dunn anymore. It's not about Bruce Pritchard anymore. It's not about any of the writers who basically does exactly what Vince wants because it's about Vince's show. Vince's one wants what he wants. This is about the time when John Cena turned face and instead of turning heel, giving the excuse of he's seeing a whole bunch of kids and that those kids are watching the product more than the adults. He chose to try and do the Ricky the Dragon Steamboat model and stay a good guy, which completely destroyed everything because he never acted like a good guy. He stayed in that thugonomic attitude and believed he was better than everybody else. And he did not transition to a Stone Cold Steve Austin or a Rock. He was never there. So now, he has been wrestling. Sorry about the noise outside. He has not been wrestling for a while now. The last time he wrestled was at WrestleMania doing the job for Bray Wyatt. This is what I was thinking. Even though John Cena will go down in history as a Hall of Famer, it doesn't make a difference if you like him or not. He's going to be a Hall of Famer if the WWE still exists by the time they call him in and say, hey, John, you want to go in the Hall of Fame? He says, all right, I'm fine with that. Either he's going to ask Kurt Angle or JBL to bring him in because he was begun by Kurt Angle and he was made by JBL, who just went into the Hall of Fame this year. But this is what I was thinking. If John Cena decided to do one more run in wrestling, you know where he needs to go? One place. AEW. And I know people say, what are you saying? Stop! No. See it in this respect. Vince always knows there's one person that will always come back to him. Always. I say it again. Always. Come back to him. Who has always done the job for the company. Every single time he's acted better than Austin, he's acted better than Rock, he's acted better than Goldberg, he's worked better than Brock Lesnar. He's always came back because he loved the company so much and was willing to give what he was going to give to Vince. That's one of the reasons why Vince loved him so damn much. I'm telling you right now, Vince would adopt him as his son, and if Triple H wasn't his son-in-law, he would have asked John Cena to marry his daughter and boink the crap out of her and give her those three sons that she has right now. I give my word in my life that I know that Vince would try to line John Cena up with his daughter if there was no Paul Levesque. And John Anthony Cena would have fucked the living hell out of that woman and had 3 sons instead of Paul Levesque having 3 sons. That's the deal. If it had not gone the way it did. That's the truth. But this is what I'm thinking. If you really want to hurt Vince McMahon, I mean really hurt him, because Vince cares about getting this. But do you want to think about what really hurts Vince? You want to know what really hurts Vince? Loyalty hurts Vince. If you've seen the Broken Skull podcast with a Chris Jericho, he's able to go on it because he didn't burn any bridges with Vince. He didn't, because he left on good terms. He showed Vince respect, so he left on good terms. If Vince doesn't get John Cena and Tony Khan does, and I'm not saying that he will. I'm not saying that Tony Khan will be able to get John Cena. I'm not even saying John Cena will go to Tony Khan. He's very loyal, and he's busy right now filming more stuff, including Suicide Squad 2. No, he already filmed Suicide Squad 2. And they're probably editing it and getting it ready for next year. But I believe next year, unless it's coming out this year. But essentially, 100%, he is going to go back to the WWE if they ever call him again. But what happened if he didn't? What do you think will happen to Vince if he finds out that John Anthony Cena went to AEW, even if it's for a short 1 or 2 years? He will rip out what little hair he has. I've lost hair because of I've lost a good amount of hair because of the stress I've gotten. And because I'm 50. But I believe that it would destroy him. He could not stand that his product went to somebody else. That's how I feel about it. And hearing Jim Ross talk about why he never pulled the trigger, if Tony Khan had John Cena, and this goes back to Jim Ross, he would have made him go heel. It doesn't make a difference John Cena wanted to stay a face. Tony Khan would have seen heel needs to be done. You will turn heel or you leave. That's Tony Khan. He's fair, but he's straight. That's how I feel about it. Now let's switch over to the other thing we need to talk about. And I know this went on for 15 minutes, and I know not everyone's going to like it. I know. But it had to be said because, hey, things got to be talked about in wrestling. Mauro going on to Rebellion to commentate the last match of the night between Rick Swann and Kenny Omega. This is a very interesting situation. I've heard what JD, I haven't heard Alex talk about it yet. He probably will eventually, because it's getting close. Knowing that Mauro is going to go to Impact Wrestling and commentate on the last match means a lot. This guy has been known to be the best color commentator of wrestling since Jim Ross. He is the modern day Jim Ross. That is Mauro. No matter if you take away his problem with depression, because I understand it myself. You guys, if you've been on this channel for more than a few years, you know I suffer from anxiety and depression. There's certain times when I'm doing these videos, I just don't seem like myself. And I try not to show it, but I'm sure some people would notice. They just don't mention it in the comments. And when it comes to Mauro, he has that issue. Now, he took off because his mother was sick. Now, I hope his mother's all right. He's a lucky guy. I don't have a mom anymore. But if he's all right, going back into wrestling and going on Impact will mean something. One, this will be a trial run for him to see if what happened in WWE will not affect him in another promotion. Remember, he got abused in WWE. We know that he was harassed by JBL and more than a few people on the roster. We know this. No matter how nice everybody in the WWE roster is, they are still cutthroat. If they can get an advantage over you, they will. And he was harassed, and his depression was too much to handle. So that's why he left. He had to leave. So now, taking months away from the company, let's see if this is going to be a way to rekindle his love. And I'm sure he still loves wrestling. But to see if going to another promotion may help. Now, JD said the best place is going to be AEW. No. You already got Jim Ross there. You don't need him there. You got Chris Jericho there, who can easily transition out of being a wrestler to be able to talk on the mic. You already got Paul White, the former Big Show, on that commentary team. Even though it's on, what is it? I forgot the name of AEW on Dark Arising or something. I can't remember. But it's the point that you already got a lot of people there. And yes, I do agree with JD that maybe he can be hired in to do special pay-per-views, like the signature ones for AEW, like not Full Gear, but like All In or All Out. Their most signature pay-per-view. But for regular pay-per-views, I wouldn't agree. The people who need him is Impact Wrestling. I'm sorry. D'Lo Brown is great. I love him. Matt Striker is really, how can I say this about Matt? Matt is not a bad commentator. He's way better than Josh Matthews. He is. I believe he was always underestimated. He's actually not underrated. That's the right word. I do believe he's a much better commentator than most people would like. Can he be dry? Yes. But his knowledge. Here, this is Jim Ross. This is Michael Cole. The only reason I'm not putting Michael Cole here is because Jim Ross has way more experience, even though with Bell palsy, because I had it, it messed my face up. My face is permanently damaged because of it. But Jim Ross has experience. Michael Cole, yes, he's been dry, but he is highly knowledgeable. Then you got a Matt Striker. Easily, he's after that. If you're going by years of experience in the wrestling business, that's where you got Jim, you got Cole, you got Matt. But for excitement, Mauro, Jim Ross. That's the truth. And the best option right now for Impact to really start getting people to watch the product, if Impact understands You bring in Mauro. Let's say that they can't look. Let's be honest here. WWE has this amount of wad to fuck with. AEW has this amount of wad of money to fuck with to get Mauro. Both of them got big wads of money. Impact, you can see what I'm talking about. If Mauro decides to work for Impact Wrestling, it will not be for the money. It will be because he feels comfortable there. And this is where I'm hoping. When he goes to Impact Wrestling, and I'm sure they're going to have things set up for him ahead of time, maybe a couple of days a week, he'll come over there. He'll go over to where they're filming, and then he will talk to the wrestlers there, talk to the people there, get a chance to know how Impact runs, because he's got to at least understand the storyline that's going on with AEW, the storyline of Impact Wrestling and Rick Swann. He's got to know. Yes, he'll know Rick Swann because Rick Swann had been in WWE and he had commentated for his matches before. He did before he left. He knew Rick Swann. So it's not like he's not going to know him, but he probably won't be keeping up with the storylines. So he's going to have to be acquainted with storylines so he'll know what's going on with both competitors. So when they match, it's going to happen. But I'm hoping that next to them doing Zoom calls, he goes down to where everybody is ahead of time, where there's still some people that are there, even though there are restrictions to COVID, they can't have a lot of people there. He does go there. He does talk with the people. He talks with Don. He talks with Scott. He talks with Gail Kim. He talks with people he never even seen in the wrestling business because of the WWE and his exposure there. And he sees how things are. And he gets curious. He gets excited and interested and sees a company. Yes, let's be honest here. And I'm saying this for every Impact fan that watches my shows. And I thank you for coming to watch anything of my shows of Impact Wrestling. But let's be honest here. Impact has not been doing good for more than a few years. Even though they had a few very good storylines, when it comes down to it, they always seem to botch something up. And even with the new, and I've said this for years, every time when we got new people running the place, wait and see. Don't get too excited because we don't know if this is going to fall on its face. In the beginning of last year, everything seemed to be pretty good. And then COVID hit. Then we found out that Tessa Blanchard didn't want to work for the company anymore and they had to fire her ass. After all that work she did. And after all the work the company allowed her to do, and they put a lot of effort into her, they got fucked over by her. It doesn't make a difference how you feel about Tessa, if she deserved to get kicked off or not. She did what she did. She did not want to work with them. They had to fire her because she refused to work with them. So, next to that, several talents disappearing, several talents not signed because they didn't want to sign, or the Impact management didn't make it right, and then the storylines themselves have not been good. The company is not great. Honestly. But, and I'm saying this clearly, but we don't know, and I know a few of my subscribers have been saying this has been very one-sided. This is what happened in the very beginning when Kenny Omega went to Impact Wrestling. It was dead center, something that could be offered for both sides. This is Impact, this is AEW. Who's gaining the most advantage is on this side. AEW has been getting more advantage having the Good Brothers, having Kenny Omega, having the sponsorship on Impact Wrestling for international shows. It feels like it's like this. But we don't know what's going to happen after Rebellion. This could actually come here. And it could, we don't know yet, it could give us something more. A lot of wrestlers who have left the company a while before, maybe now they're ready to try and work with Impact Wrestling. We don't know that though. It's going to count on one, Impact willing to shed out the wad, like I said, which is not the biggest. This is Tony Khan and Vince. This is like Impact Wrestling. They just don't have it. They don't. They're like, you get my point. But still, if Mauro looks at Impact Wrestling, he thinks one or two things. One, I still care about wrestling. I miss doing it. Maybe I should get my feet wet and try working in another company for a little while to get my feet wet. And I think I like Impact. So maybe he signs a short-term contract on Impact or a episode by episode basis, like Thunder Rosa on AEW, where she comes in and does a show by show basis. They pay her, she comes in, there you go. Or he does sign a contract, he works with D'Lo Brown, and then he works with Matt Striker on commentary. And he may like coming back into working of wrestling. You never know. And then after he worked with Impact for a while, Tony Khan may call him to go do AEW. But to be honest, and I'm being honest here, it would be better if he did not go to AEW because you got so many commentators. Jim Ross is not retiring. He's already said, I don't want to stop working because I miss my wife too much. To me, Jim Ross is not going to be able to stop working until he can't walk no more. So he will keep commentating until either he can't remember anything anymore and he has to be pulled off, or he drops dead. That's Jim Ross. You still got Chris Jericho, who has more than a few years, and he does still stand in for commentary. Then you got Paul White, the same thing. You got a lot of people there. You got Excalibur over there. You got Tony Schiavone still over there. You never know when Sting may commentate. Maybe he won't be doing anything in the ring anymore. He may even commentate. You never know. There's so many people there. So my thought is, stay at Impact for a while, a year or two, and if anything does become available for AEW, then you go. That's what I think should go for Mauro if he gets that bug again for wrestling, and he doesn't go back to WWE, and he doesn't go to AEW. It could be Impact would be the best fit for him. But this is just my point. And this is the Gump Report, and I'm hoping this battery doesn't die while I'm about to finish up. Have a good day. Have a good night. Peace.